takes Abraham's wife. He takes Lot, his grandson, because Lot's father had died by then. And Terah, he heads towards the land of Canaan, and he stops before he can get to the land of Canaan. He stops at a place called Aran. And there he lived for 205 years, and he died there. In other words, there was something about Abraham's father. It's possible that God told him, listen, if you leave. Now, one of the things that God will expect you to do is, if you want the inheritance, you've got to leave where you are and move to a higher position. You have to migrate to a position where you can receive. And the place that you have to go to is something that your upbringing never did for you, and that is this: your upbringing never conditioned you to think in a particular way to receive from God. And when you come to Christ, that's what you have to work on, is to work on your thinking, where your thinking brings you to the place where you can receive from God. Now, Terah went halfway, or possibly halfway, or somewhere close to Canaan, and he couldn't go any further for whatever reason. And God couldn't bless Abraham's father. So God now, after Terah dies, God calls to Abraham, and Abraham says, and God says to Abraham, Abraham, if you leave your father's house, the lifestyle that you were conditioned to live in, your upbringing, if you leave that place and if you go to another place I'm showing you, at that place I'm able to deliver my promise, but not where you are. That's why, when you read the New Testament, Jesus said, one of the things that I came for, I didn't come to give you peace. I brought war. I came to bring war in your house. I've come to separate people in their thinking. I've come to separate the mother from the father from the son, and the mother from the daughter, and the daughter-in-law from the mother-in-law, because I want you to be unique in your thinking. Your thinking is going to damage you. Your thinking is going to keep you back. Your thinking is going to hold you down. And Jesus said, I came to separate you and free you in your thinking. So Terah misses out on the blessing. God comes to Abraham, and God says to Abraham, if you would go, if you would leave this place and go to the place I'm showing you, I'll do something in your life. And the Bible says, and Abraham, in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 8, it says, and Abraham obeyed when God called him to leave. When God says, stop this habit of stinking thinking, move to a higher level of thinking. Be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Move to a higher level of thinking. If you leave, if you obey, God says, I can give you your inheritance. It all starts with our thinking. The Bible says, by faith Abraham obeyed when God called him to leave and to go into another land that God would give him his inheritance. And as he was going, he didn't know where he was going. Now, I'm not saying that when you start to think right and, do everything is going to just fall from heaven and everything's going to be okay. It's a journey, guys. It's a journey from now until the day you die, that your thinking must constantly grow to a higher level and to a greater glory. Now, when you look at the blessing that God's talking about, if you go to Genesis chapter 12, the blessings of Abraham. Now, take this down. This is important. This is what you have to condition your mind to thinking. This is what God said to Abraham. He said to Abraham, Abraham, if you listen to me, you go there, that's the place I can bless you, not here. But if you go there, this is what I'll do for you. God says to him, I will give you the land. The first thing that you have to condition yourself into thinking that I have the promise of property. That one of God's will and plan for my life is to not rent, but to own. And not to own one, but to own many. The first promise to Abraham was the promise of real estate. You will own the land. You will own the building. You will own things. You will not borrow. You will be an owner. The Spirit of the Lord. What does Lord mean? Owner. When God put the Spirit upon you, what do you think He put upon you? He put the spirit of ownership on you. You think like an owner. You behave like an owner. You act like an owner. And so the first promise to Abraham was real estate. You will own land. You will own property. The second promise to Abraham, this is where we condition our thinking. The first is, I'll own the building, I'll own the property, I'll own the vehicle, I'll own things. The second promise to Abraham was this: if you leave and go there, I will make thee into a great nation. The promise of greatness. See, that's why I'm saying to you, it is not God's will for you to be a nobody. It is not God's will for you to just live life and die without achieving greatness. It was the promise of achieving greatness, the promise of greatness. The third promise to Abraham was this: I will bless you. It's a promise of the blessed life, the blessed life in health, in wealth, and happiness. So the third promise was the promise of a blessed life of health, wealth, and happiness. The fourth promise that God made to Abraham is that I will make your name great. It's the promise of honor and reputation. It is not God's will for us to be dishonored, be disrespected, and being treated badly. You move to another place, God says, I promise you honor and reputation. I'll make you a brand. And that's why God always identified himself as the God of Abraham. Abraham is a brand. God of Isaac, God of Jacob. They are